Hey everybody, sorry to get off to a late start. Totally my fault. But anyway, we're here, and welcome to Castle's Cage and Clones presents Loki, the show in which we do deep dive into the episodes. And today we're looking at episode 3. If you have not seen the show yet, please go and um, and check it out because we are going to be doing spoilers. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notification, and do like the post as it really does help us out. Hey everybody, I'm Loren, and I'm here with my cousin and co-pilot, Rich.
Hello.
Hi. I look like Miss Minutes. How's everything going?
That's going all right. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Um, uh, do anything interesting?
Not really. Not since yesterday's podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we go right into it? We've got a lot of stuff to discuss. What did you think overall of the episode?
Um, I liked it. I mean, I think when I was watching it, because it was, so
Late.
late, I was
Mm,
like, okay. But then when I watched it again and started really thinking about it, like, it just seems like this was a transitional episode, but really there's a lot that's uncovered. This is like pretty
yeah,
much where a lot of it's uncovered, but there's still obviously so many questions. But
right.
we get a deeper understanding of really what's kind of going on, and like it's and you just makes you realize we're halfway done. Like this is the halfway point, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, uh, I think I think the possibilities of what this show means the rest of Phase 4 is very
Yeah,
apparent in this episode.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought, you know, it was kind of nice to get out of uh, the TVA for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and put Loki in a different situation. And I thought that there was, again, a lot to unlock. I was trying to think of questions to ask for this episode, and more and more of them kept popping in my head. So hopefully we'll be able to tackle some of these
Yep.
as this this particular episode of our podcast goes on. All right, so the big central question is who is Sylvie and where did she come from?
I
What do
mean,
you think?
on the surface, she's obviously a Loki variant, but I think
Mm-hmm.
there's. We kind of alluded to it last time, but I don't think she's. I don't think she's exactly a variant of Loki.
Yeah.
Um, or or she is, but that means that the variants and the timeline and all that kind of things are way more complicated
Complex.
than
Yeah.
than just the sacred timeline and the Nexus level events. That means there's probably little variations in the sacred timeline that do not cause
Mm-hmm.
a Nexus level like a red line event. They're kind of like these little things. Like we saw in the last episode, there are several variants of Loki, um, and all of them look different,
But look like him.
but look like him. So why is she? Well, and like why are all those so different from each other? Like what
Mm-hmm.
is at what point does being some kind of weird Tour de France winner cause you to become a variant, like a Nexus level variant or whatever?
Right.
Um, but from the comic books, Sylvie is a very specific name tied to this very specific character.
Mm-hmm. Why do
So
you go ahead and say it?
I mean, we talked about it last time, but like she's an enchantress, and there's a character named Enchantress who at one point was named Sylvie something something.
Yeah, I can't remember what her
Yeah.
name was. Yeah.
Um, I mean, like that version of her is not the original Enchantress, right?
No.
This one was the one. It was created by Loki.
And,
Yeah.
and it is possible that they could change her origin story for this
Right.
particular thing. I think that it's quite. But yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious to me that it is the Enchantress
Yeah.
because they kept they kept saying enchantment, enchanting, enchantress, enchant. I mean, enchantment, enchanting, and using the verb enchant in so many ways that I couldn't. I'm like, if that wasn't, I mean, if that's a red herring, then
Yeah. I just don't think they're going to use the name Sylvie and not
mhm.
be that's a name for the Enchantress and not have her be the Enchantress.
Right. That's another thing. It's like Sylvie. It was
Like I
kind of
might as well
crazy.
call her something else.
Hmm.
Betty. um,
Uh, why do you think she hates being a Loki?
so I think so. Like in this episode, the big reveal is that all the TVA agents are variants.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think she's a variant. I think she's the ex TVA variant. I think
Oh, you think she works
she.
at the TVA?
I think she uh, worked there. Like they did whatever the TVA does to these variants, and something because of her connection to like magic or whatever. I
Yeah.
think at some point she something clicked,
Broke
right?
free.
Yeah, it's kind of like I mean, there's a lot of parallels to the Matrix story. They're all
Yeah.
living in this kind of created world, right? Which is basically what it is, right? The time of lords, whatever, what are they called?
Right. Time Lords.
Time lord, yeah.
Yeah. Time Lords.
They create this reality the way they think it should be, just like
Hmm.
the Matrix people created a reality for essentially their batteries or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but then somewhere along the line, something breaks the illusion, right? And who else better to break the illusion than an illusionist, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and so you have Loki, this version of Loki, you know. There's a like, there's got to be a reason why she hates being called Loki.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from her time as a TVA agent, where she probably had to hunt down all those other Lokis,
Hmm.
right? And it's kind of ingrained in her. It's like I don't know, like I have a feeling like when she snapped out of it, she still retains memory of what her time. Like
Yeah.
it's not like she all of a sudden woke up and didn't remember anything. I mean, that's why she's going after the TVA because she knows
Right.
what they did. So I think there's a subconscious thing where she's not exactly the biggest fan of Loki because, for however many years she was an agent, she probably won, because they all have this weird hatred towards
Hmm.
variants. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's so strange to me. Like they hate them so much for the crime of having choice. You
Hmm.
know, like what is it that caused someone to hate Lance Armstrong, Loki? Like, is that really something like he'd do something terrible? Um,
Right.
but just the way they treated Tom Hiddleston Loki from the very beginning, it was like a sub person.
Hmm.
So I think that's why she kind of has that attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think she's also trying to destroy them because she wants to free all the other variants. Because they're
Mm-hmm.
doing this not because they probably want to. Like that one guard in the beginning of this episode where she was trying to, get information from, has a big tie to margaritas. Just like
Yeah.
Owen Wilson has a big tie to jet skis. So they're probably just living their life, and so it's not like they join this free will, and they're
Mm-hmm.
forced to be these kind of bureaucratic, authoritative agents.
Right. Right. That's an interesting. You know, that's an interesting concept that I didn't even think about. I just thought that he could not like being a Loki because he's the only woman, but I don't know why this why that would be a thing. I don't know why that would be a thing.
That's another thing.
So
It's like he's an illusionist, right? And
yeah.
just because, like, but we've seen him change his form.
Hmm.
So, and he chose the form he was instead of his frost giant form
Right.
through whatever, like, from the suppressing the trauma when he was a baby or whatever. So maybe in whatever variant timeline or whatever, that version of Loki instead was a girl,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like, it's no coincidence that under his file, his gender is fluid.
Right.
So what is his true gender? You know what I mean? I don't think he has one. I think it's whatever.
He
It's
wants
like
to be.
um, what's it called from Ghostbusters? Gozer. Choose the
Yeah.
form. Like there's no form, you choose it. So
Yeah. Go
in
to.
Ghostbusters, the big destroyer is the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. I think I think Loki whenever they were rescued by Odin, you know, little things could have happened in that time where maybe most of them chose this happened to be a male, and
Yeah.
then this specific instance was female.
Yeah. I just wanted to say hi, Mary. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
We're talking about Loki. So if you haven't seen the episode yet,
Right. Yes, we're gonna go
yes,
deep.
ghost. We are good on the Ghostbuster references. um, okay, so how do we think that he differs from Loki?
Um, I mean, I think it stems from the same thing. I think what happened to her and why I think she's also an ex-agent is that she was brought in really early in her life.
Mm-hmm.
I think her being a her was the start of the Nexus event,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's where she became a variant. Um, because in the scene in the train where they're having that Luke and Leia moment where they're talking about, she's like, I never met my mother, or she doesn't really remember her mother.
Right.
Um, to me, says she, like, whenever she became a variant, she didn't live the life that Loki led,
Mm-hmm.
which means she would have become a variant very early on in her life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was another reason why I thought maybe that's why she needed being Loki, was
yeah,
because she apparently didn't have the same kind of upbringing or whatever. I mean, even though Loki was angry at Odin, he still deep down loved him.
yeah, yeah. And I think inherently they have magic capabilities, and I think that's why the difference. I think that's why she doesn't kind of show the same powers that Loki has shown. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
cause like she said in this episode, like she taught herself how to enchant. You know,
Right.
where Loki talked about Frigga and how she taught him how to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why they have. I think they're both powerful with magic, except they're just different because one learned from a proper teacher, and then the other one kind of figured it out on her own.
Right.
You know.
Uh, and she said that she was hedonistic, like him, but that she was not, going to give up on her mission. Like she was not at the sake of her mission. And I thought that was an interesting difference between them. Loki's a little more, you know, like his plans are always changing, and I think a lot of times that's why he's defeated.
Yeah.
Is because he does not stick to the mission all the time,
Yeah.
and that's what makes him him.
He's opportunistic.
Yeah, he's opportunistic. That's it. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that. So, why is a TVA her target? And I think that you came up with a great theory about her having been a variant, and working in the TVA. I mean, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
I can't even think of another reason why you would want to target the. I wanted to hear what you said.
I mean, there's a lot of things like she also the way she talks about things sounds like a TVA agent. You know, when she's
Mm-hmm.
talking about the arc and how she's nothing to say like she speaks out of it like how Owen Wilson kind of talks about things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the arc is destroyed every single time. You know,
Yeah, she seems to know a lot,
yeah,
like more than Loki.
yeah, and has that kind of understanding that the TVA has about events. It's just something that keeps happening over and over and over and over. Like, you know, Loki, Hiddleston Loki, um, like his plan was, well, why don't we just stop it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what's the difference? Well, we're both here, so let's try and stop it, which is something the TVA does not try to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mary is asking. She'd like to know the motivation. What the motivation is to destroy the timeline. Like, how does it benefit her?
Do you have any thoughts?
Huh?
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that maybe her blowing up the timeline would create, I don't know, maybe some kind of equality amongst the Lokis by creating another multiverse.
I mean, it is. It's not destroying the timeline. It's
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 creating a
creating
multiverse.
it's creating a universe of free will.
Right.
You know, because the biggest thing is as like Loki when he's talking to Owen like Mobius is like, so no one has free will. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and the TVA agents are always speak like, no, everything happens the way it happens. You're meant to do this over and over and over again because it does and because it has to, and it only has to because you know the time gods said so. The three lizards say so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, in under the guise of, well, we're doing it for the greater good of the people, which you know is, if you think about it, that's where a lot of oppression starts. We're doing this for the greater
Right.
good, but is it for the greater good or only their good?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think her motivation isn't to destroy. It's more like she's fighting for freedom from the Time Lords. Is it Time Lords? Or am I getting mixed up with Doctor
Yeah.
Who?
Time Lord.
Because in Doctor
No,
Who,
timekeepers. The
timekeepers.
timekeepers. Yeah,
Because like Time Lords are from Doctor
timekeepers.
Who. I'm like,
I know. Yeah, that's why that sounds familiar to me.
that's why I'm like, I know
Yeah,
that can't be it. Timekeepers.
yeah, it's timekeepers.
Um,
Uh, and I have
yeah.
it written there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, the agents of TVA are variants, which is very interesting. Um, what else do we think that TVA is lying about? Like, how could there be this all-powerful organization that is like lying to its people, or I don't know, maybe it's not lying to its people. I don't know, but I just feel like what else is out there? I mean, it just seems very interesting.
I mean, I just think it's not. It's lying through propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why that whole Miss Minutes video when he's in line is like painting this picture of like this utter chaos and war and whatever. Who's to say that the timekeepers didn't start that war?
Right. And maybe, or was there a war?
Yeah.
Maybe the timekeepers just want to govern time
Yeah.
and free will.
Maybe they do have an understanding of all the different multiverses because maybe they are also themselves Nexus beings, like
Mm-hmm.
Wanda, right? So they kind of can exist in all these different multiverses,
Right.
and kind of like how, like Doctor Strange and in Infinity War, like saw 1 million possible outcomes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They also can do that, and they know so many of those universes that they can exist in. Maybe their mortality or whatever is worse off, so they picked the outcome that they want, and that's why they made this kind of lie about for the greater good of the universe. This has to be the one timeline, or else.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's I don't think it's because it's a benefit to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike like Thanos, his plan was for the benefit of people. Like he understood the problem, but he treated it like a math problem.
Right. Like there was
Right?
no empathy or
Yeah.
no
I don't
sympathy.
think the timekeepers are that. I think theirs is selfish. I think their motivation is totally selfish,
Mm-hmm.
and they just want to survive
Yeah.
by all any means possible.
I One thing that I'm wondering, are the timekeepers real? I mean, like, are they actually three space lizards doing this? Or I'll tell you when I started thinking about this,
Mm-hmm.
I am wondering because you're talking about how one of them resembles Kang the Conqueror, and I was looking at a picture of it, and I'm like, yeah, the central one looks like Kang the Conqueror. Is this Kang the Conqueror in like that setting this all up? And that, as I said, before, maybe he does want to govern time without, any other things messing it up, and so created this myth about the war of multiverses.
Could very possibly be. Yeah.
And Mary King the Conqueror, if you don't know, is the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and he's a big villain in
The Marvel.
comics.
Yeah.
Just in case, I don't know how much of a comic reader you are, so
I just think it's also interesting that Kang the Conqueror has ties to the Fantastic Four. I
Mm-hmm.
won't go much further into that, just in
Right.
case. um,
Right.
but you know, we've talked a lot about like, on the various Marvel shows, on even in the podcast, how everything seems to be like at some point there's going to be the Young Avengers.
Hey. Sorry,
Um,
she's
right.
excited for Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, like you know, like when Iron Man came out, I could never fathom that Kang the Conqueror would be something we would see on screen somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, but like the Young Avengers run, the first run, the main villain was like this younger version of Kang the Conqueror,
Mm-hmm.
right? This version of Enchantress was in the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if at the end of this, there's a timey wimey something, and it's like a younger, like her younger self, like maybe when she became a variant, emerges from this, and she joins the Young Avengers.
Interesting. Hmm.
Because you know, like I saw it online. Someone pointed out that some of the people they thanked in this episode were the authors of the comic book where she becomes a Young Avenger.
Really?
Yeah. So I think it's a possibility. I don't. I think that's a far. That's a stretch possibility, but only because
Yeah.
it happened in the comics. But I think there are ties to the Young Avengers. There's. I just think there's. I think Phase 4 is like this weird build up to the Young Avengers
Mm-hmm.
for a reason.
Yeah. So so interesting. So interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, did you did you hear Loki came out as bisexual in this episode?
Like I know, kinda.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
like
she was saying something about alluding to romantic trysts with princesses or princes, and he said a little bit of both.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I thought that that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny. Like I never really like it. It wouldn't have surprised me either way,
Yeah, I mean, like if there was
right?
ever a Asgardian god
Yeah,
to have to be bisexual,
yeah,
it would be Loki.
yeah. And I think that society in itself it's probably more open to it. I think Valkyrie is, or
Yeah.
you know, but I know also plays into the whole part where he's gender fluid, and so doesn't really. He's basically a being, right?
Hmm.
And can be whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's kind of fitting, like the one of the biggest Marvel characters in cinematic history. Uh, like without any fanfare, really. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
he just kind of says it, uh, during Pride Month. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is nice too. That
yeah.
it wasn't. It was just kind of like,
Then like pointing to it,
yep,
like look at us.
yeah,
You
like, oh,
know,
yep,
like
I'm
no,
here.
it should be normal, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any speculations on how they're going to get off of Lamentis?
I have no idea. Like that whole sequence, like the thing about this episode, that whole sequence at the end plays like one big long shot with some
Hmm.
clever editing, but like I was so like engrossed in it, and then when the arc blew up and everyone just stands still, I'm like, oh my god, and then
Yeah,
credits, I'm like, ah.
I know exactly with that country western song or whatever it is. It's so
I was like,
funny. It's
what?
so different from what we were just watching.
But I haven't really thought about like what are they gonna do
I
to get
know.
off that thing, because obviously there's impending doom. Like maybe the TVA gets there,
That's what I'm thinking.
right?
I'm
Because
thinking that somehow.
yeah, because I mean, like, you know, Loki proved to Mobius that his theory was right. This Loki, like, Sylvie
About the apocalypse.
is hanging out in apocalypses.
Yeah.
So pretty sure the TVA is pissed right now, right? And his job, I don't even know what punishment he could have, but like he's because he vouched for Loki, so he's probably in hot water with Renslayer. So I think he's gonna show up uh, at the most opportune time.
Yeah, at the last second. Yeah, I feel as well. Mary is asking, do you think Loki stole a time stone from the TVA before Clark got melted? I'm curious how the falling building stopped falling and went back in time. That's an interesting question. I didn't know that he could do that, but
It was pretty interesting the way that played out. Because
right.
one, we didn't really have. I don't think we've ever seen him really do telekinesis. But
Yeah.
usually telekinesis isn't so exact. Like if he caught it with telekinesis and pushed it back, it might have looked different. But it really looked like reversed.
Right, exactly.
So it's possible. He does have sleight of hand.
Yeah, and it's not unlike him to steal things.
Yeah, and especially especially that specific one when he knows he's in this thing called the Time Variance Authority.
Time variance authority.
And he's seen their weapons that reverse small bits of time. So it wouldn't go past him to grab a time stone, even though it has no power in that universe. If he ever goes back to where he's from, it might work. And
right.
I guess it did. Because I think he has a time stone. I don't think all of a sudden he has this new power. I mean, it could just be that he's always had it, but I just think the way it looked on screen, didn't look like when you look at like Star Wars and someone uses the Force to move things, it's not as deliberate.
Right.
They don't just like totally reverse things in time. The way that looked, I think it's possible that he has a time stone.
Ooh, so Mary has a bunch of other questions. Or do you think the handheld device did not get smashed and Loki just projected a broken one?
That was my first thought, actually.
Yeah.
When it broke, when he showed it, because we've seen him do those things before.
The sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand, the illusion.
Right.
So that also is a possibility. I agree. Like, I think that was my first thought. I'm like, oh, he's got to be faking it.
That he's always, if there was a mission that Loki had, it's to save himself.
Yeah.
And he's going to do something. And he'll screw over other people if he has to. So. She's also wondering if Mobius is actually here, just watching and keeping it from falling. Maybe.
It's possible.
Maybe, using those devices that turn back time. Maybe they are there. Maybe they're ready to rescue them, and we're just
it's possible, but it seemed like to me in that moment, Loki was very deliberate in what he was doing at that time. I do definitely think that he's gonna show up to.
Oh yeah, he says we did see him use telekinesis for the first time in the Mega Mart store to call the room.
Roomba.
Yeah, the Roomba to hit.
Right.
That's right. I forgot about that. He's so mischievous.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a mischievous scamp. That's him. So many good questions, Mary. You need to join our group.
There's one thing one other thing. It's not in one of your questions, but I have a feeling that the people on the Lamentis are from Xanthar.
Yeah, Ruma.
Xandar.
You were thinking they're what?
They're Xandarian.
Oh, huh. Okay, I wondered because I thought 2077 seems too close in the future for that to be human settlement.
Yeah, and that gun that woman had looked very Xandarian to me.
Right. Right.
I was just like, that's really odd. Like,
Yeah,
they're
it
not
could be.
humans. But, I mean, the human race in the timeline has access to alien technology, right? So who knows how advanced they get, but like 77 does seem like very close to that. They're wherever Lamentis 1 is, I feel like that's even for humans to travel. I think that's way past where they'd be able to get to in such a short time.
Especially in 2050, where we saw the Mega Mart, life seemed relatively close to what it is.
Yeah, they're still using Roombas
today. So 27 years would not. We would not. I don't think we would be able to get onto thing. Triangle gun. Right. I've heard that theory about the triangle gun.
I mean, the Nova Core is a triangle symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So I just looked. It looked very familiar. I'm curious if there's any writing or anything in the train or whatever that looks like anything we've seen from like Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a interesting. I wonder if that is because we know by this time Thanos has destroyed Xandar, but they possibly could have traveled. There could have been refugees, and this looks like a refugee kind of planet,
right?
With a Snowpiercer train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how do we feel about the chemistry between Loki and Sylvia? Sylvia, I mean. I thought it was palpable in this episode. I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed this episode for 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that she's great. I hope to see her in future movies.
I do. I do hope that she is the Enchantress, and that means more for her in the future.
Yeah. Me too.
I feel like her intentions, while maybe not, most purely noble of intentions, but I do think she has an understanding of the TVA, that she realizes that they are not who they say they are, and probably in her mind, and she's probably right, for the greater good of all people, they need to be exposed. Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, I enjoyed the train. Like, some people could say the train scene was slow and whatever, but I think they really dived in the character of Loki.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I like that scene, in particular because it's just the two of them talking.
Yeah.
And then the I like them as friends. I want Loki to sing more often in the Enchantress's villain. Often is the Enchantress a villain? Yeah. And after Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're definitely creating the Dark Avengers. I think.
Either
I
the
think
Dark
so too.
Avengers or the Thunderbolts.
I think it's going to be the Thunderbolts.
Or like
That's what I
a
think, but I don't
combination,
know.
it could be like the MCU's version of a combination of both.
Hmm.
I think that's what I think Thunderbolt Ross is going to be part of it.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely, and obviously I think Elaine. Uh, I can't remember her character's name now.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, Valentina
Valentine something
de
something something.
LaFontaine.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think she's gonna be the Nick Fury of that group. Um, and who knows? Maybe the Enchantress does join that instead.
yeah,
Because
I can see that happening.
I don't think she's a hero. Um,
No.
but I don't think she's quite the villain she is in the Marvel comics. At least the one I'm more familiar with, which is the older version of her,
Hmm.
the non-Sylvie version of her.
Right.
Then again, so Loki's like way more of a villain
Hmm.
in the timeline of the comics that I remember. I think it's different now because of the MCU's influence on Marvel comics, but
Yeah.
back back in the day, I don't think she's that villainous. But I think it's more kind of like Loki. They are still self-serving,
Right.
and
They're
that'll keep them.
self-serving. That's a good way
Yeah,
of calling them
that's
self-serving.
that means they'll never ever really be an Avenger, right?
Right. And Mary is saying, I think Black Widow is going to give us a lot of clues with young Ross.
Ooh.
I think you are absolutely correct, 100%. What did we
Yeah.
think of an episode without Owen Wilson in it? This was the first one that we had seen with him out there, and I kind of missed him, but at the same time, I was glad for Loki to have this time with Sylvie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. Like, I like Owen Wilson, but I think
Hmm.
it's called Loki, so
Yeah.
having an episode of two Lokis in it, I think is fine. It did
Yeah.
give. I think it gives the audience a chance to get away from the TVA because I think with Owen Mobius there, he's obviously always going to speak highly of the TVA. So we
Yeah.
get the TVA point of view, but we've learned that now we know that Mobius is not a TV, like wasn't created by the TVA. He was
Yeah.
brainwashed or something by the TVA. So
Right.
I think now that next time we see him, we with that knowledge as an audience, we just
Yeah,
know,
now that we know, yeah, that jet ski meaning something.
you know.
Hey, Ginger, how are you? Okay, yeah, good that you have Loki on pause. That's a great thing. And Mary Miss Mobius Shield. So yeah, I think that yeah, I you like blew my mind with the one theory you had. So
We'll see.
um, and
Or it could just be
I
Mephisto
didn't
the whole
even
time.
think of that. What?
Or it could just be Mephisto the whole time.
It's Mephisto.
It's Mephisto.
Mephisto.
There's a hexagram somewhere. It's Mephisto.
Right, exactly. Uh, all right. Well, what do you think is going on with the sacred timeline right now? We saw it.
Oh,
Lines
yeah.
were branching out left and right from the.
I mean, it's the birth of or I would say the rebirth of the multiverse. Um, I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what the TVA, obviously they are in high alert, kind of like emergency mode, going to the armory or whatever.
Mhm.
So I don't know what it's chaos. It's got to be chaos right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's gonna be an interesting thing coming. Hopefully, we'll see what's going on in the next episode.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
I can't believe there's only 3 more episodes.
I know. It's just like, God, I tell you, it just happens so fast.
Right.
These series, like I can't believe we've already gone through 2 series so far, and we're almost done with the third series. We're halfway through the third series,
Yeah.
and which one is next again? I forgot.
It's,
Hawkeye.
technically, it's what if.
What if? Right. What if in August?
Again, like I know, like
And
I think when they first announced the what if, I thought it was just gonna be okay. It's just like a fun thing, but
Little John.
I
Yeah.
think it's still part of the MCU, and I think it's gonna tie directly from Loki. I
Yeah.
think
I
we're
think
going to
that this
see
has
the
been.
stories of these variants in What
Yeah.
If. So,
I know. Right. 3 more. Darn it. Um.
all right.
Yeah. It's so
But
crazy, but and they're doing such a great job of kind of moving things along in this way that um everything is interconnecting in some way. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And
we know there's
which is what
implications
they
here and
do
there.
well.
So
What?
we just know like everything. Like there's implications from each series to the next, which makes me wonder like how does this all tie into Hawkeye? Like
Mm-hmm.
where do we go in Hawkeye when we've obviously with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, one there's a new Captain America. Um,
Right.
and that was dealing also with the aftermath of the blip
Mm-hmm.
and how just the world itself, Earth, is dealing with it. But then Wanda Vision opened the door to a bigger magical world, Nexus beings,
Nexus beings. Yeah.
you know and like begins the multiverse. This is the birth of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Where do you go in Hawkeye? Like, do we go back in this kind of like before the big, like it's the calm before the big storm of like the next multiverse super event, whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it. I think that's what it is. I think that it's. I think that like in the normal film MCU, you had your bigger Avengers events thing, and then you could go back to Winter Soldier, or so it's like life goes on still,
Yeah,
and there's going to be street level fighting needed and stuff like that, or political dramas
yeah.
and that kind of intrigue.
I mean, it could be the
So
one that introduces it. I mean, like it could be that oh my god, new Hawkeye,
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop, like
Yeah.
her introduction to the world, just like
Hmm.
WandaVision also gave us Monica Rambeau. Um,
Yeah.
so you know, I think Hawkeye is going to be more about introducing a new hero to the mix.
Definitely. Mary says, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for No Way Home and Doctor Strange. I can't wait to see what Wanda is going to do next, and I wonder when we will see the White Vision again. I want all the pieces to come together. I can assure you that they are going to come together because Marvel just, I mean, they just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
How it's going to come together, who knows? I want to see where the White Vision is as well.
yeah.
Conceivably, we could see him in Doctor Strange because you know um, Wanda
One of those.
knows he's out there.
Yeah. Before all of this started, my big prediction for Phase 4 was that Wanda was going to be the big bad,
Hmm.
right?
But now,
And it's still she can still go like at the end of WandaVision, we did see that she was playing with the Dark Home or whatever. I can't remember
the dark
if
hole.
they said that's what it was, but that's playing with evil magic, dark magic, and
Right.
And like a lot of heroes' journeys. Sometimes there's a slight fall and a path to the dark side, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And if she does go that route, especially if it's involving her kids, she can very well go a little bit further than she even intended.
Right.
And who else to bring her out of it than White Vision?
Right.
To ground her again. Like maybe like he shows up with the kids, and
right.
As a family, they bring her out of the darkness, and then she becomes one of the main keys to defeating Kane the Conqueror or whatever comes out. Mephisto.
Right. And no worries, Mary. We're about to wrap up anyway, so if you can't come back, it's fine.
Yeah. Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, I mean that was awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, we are at the end of our episode. Do you have any other questions that you want to think of?
No. I think we covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
The major things, I think.
Right.
I'm enjoying everything. I think everything has been great. Like the acting, like the set pieces, the music, all works for me. So I'm excited about what's coming up next, but also I'm like, man, it's almost over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're gonna have What If, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Hawkeye, No Way Home, Eternals.
Yeah. So much. Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that new trailer really bumped it up.
New trailer was awesome.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see Black Widow. So there's a lot of Marvel, even though it's coming to like we're halfway through this one series. There's so much more left just this year alone.
Yeah, and they're going to interconnect them now.
Yeah.
So
like I'm like with like Comic-Con coming up, or at least the version of Comic-Con is coming up. I'm hoping there's something that they reveal. Even if it's like first looks at like She-Hulk and Moon Knight and a little bit more from Ms. Marvel, Secret Wars, Armor Wars, whatever, all those things. Like I want to see just a little bit more, like little teasers of things. Be like, it makes it real almost. You know what I mean?
Yep, totally know. So exciting.
Yarp.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our episode. Again, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please hit the bell for notifications and do like this post, as it really does help us out. And share our posts with your family and friends on your socials. That would be really helpful. You can always reach us at podcast@castlegapesandclones.com. Leave us feedback, good or bad. And you can reach us on Twitter at LowJav and on Instagram at Loren. How about you, Rich?
You can reach me at R2 Romasanta on both Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Yeah, I was like, wait, did you finish?
I'm like, the way I said it, like I was supposed to lead to something else. I'm like, wait, no.
Yeah. The opinions expressed on tonight's podcast are solely our own and do not represent the Walt Disney Company, its subsidiaries, or assets. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you later.
Yep. Catch you on the flip side.